Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous, hosted by Bruce Hutchin. I'm so happy you've joined us today, and you're going to find out a lot about whitetail hunting on the show. This is Whitetail Rendezvous, episode number 341. On today's show, we're going to be talking with Marc Olson. What's so special about Marc? Well, for 28 years, he's been hunting whitetails in Iowa. For the last 2 years, he's been a pro staffer of Whitetail Stalker. He loves to get kids involved in the outdoors, and he loves to do all-day sits during the rut or when a cold front has just passed. He loves to have his kids sitting in the stand and doing some filming for us. Yes, he gets the whole family involved. Great show coming up. It's never too early to think about food plots. Whitetail Rendezvous has an ebook for you. Just simply text 33444 food plot to get your copy. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. Hey, we're heading out to, I believe, Iowa. Marc, are you from Iowa?
Yes, sir.
All right. We got Marc Olson on the line this afternoon. Actually, it's evening out here in Colorado. And Marc's on the pro staff for Whitetail Stalkers. And Marc's going to share what it means to be a pro staffer. Marc, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Bruce.
Well, it's going to be fun. And like we said in the warm-up, we're kind of just talking about, pro staffs and kids in the outdoors and your love for filming and archery hunts and everything else that goes along with hunting. So let's get to it. Let's start off at why are you on pro staff at Whitetail Stalker?
Well, I got to become pro staff at Whitetail Stalker because it kind of lined up with me as who I am. Big thing is faith. I mean, Whitetail Stalker is God, family, and whitetails. Obviously God first, then family, and then whitetails, and that's kind of lines up with me really well. So.
And how did you get involved? Tell me the story.
Actually, it's kind of a funny story. A mutual friend of Mike and I's is how I got involved with Whitetail Stalkers, and then Mike and I met and hit it off. And this is my second season. Actually, I got involved middle of last season, hunted the gun seasons, and then I've been on this whole season.
So you knew Mike, or you knew somebody that knew Mike? I'm not quite sure how you got involved. Because the reason I asked,
a friend of mine actually worked with Mike, and then got us in touch with one another. So, and then we just hit it off. Mike and I share a lot of interests, and we hit it off, and been going at it ever since.
So what's the big deal? I know a lot of people email me all the time and say, hey, how do we become a pro staffer? Do I have pro staffers? Which I don't. I do have a members only page. I think you're on that, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
And so, I've started that up a little community, if you will. But just share your role, what you specifically do for Whitetail Stalker as a pro staffer.
As a pro staffer, we have sponsors that we have gotten through the year, and we take care of them, sharing them social media-wise, publicly, anywhere, when we're out and about. Whitetail Stalker, number one, is promoting Whitetail Stalker on the social media, and then obviously trying to get as much footage as we can of hunting and to share that with the folks. So.
All right. Now, how do you self-film? Talk to me about that, because I have a lot of questions, and people are doing more and more filming. How do you do it?
Well, I get my kids involved. I try not to do a lot of self-filming just because filming was very humbling for me. Anybody who has ever tried to film, anybody who has never tried to film a hunt needs to try it because it's very humbling. And so I generally, if I am self-filming, it's try to get it set up to where you think the action's going to happen. Because you hunt, Bruce, you don't know what's going to happen, and you got to be ready, and it could be over in 30 seconds. So, but generally, most of the time, I take one of my daughters. I have three children. Ashton's 15, Anna's 14 and Alex is 10. Usually my two older girls, we take turns running the camera, and then actually have some friends that help out once in a while too.
So how do you set everything up? Yeah, just tell me, how you do it. So you decide you're going to hunt X-Tan. So what do you do from there?
Well, you got to get up there and got a camera arm. Got to get the camera arm base put on the tree. Put the camera arm in there. Get the camera hooked into the camera arm. Then you got to get everything leveled up so it'll sit there right. And then I always have it over my right shoulder. I'm right-handed, so I kind of like the looking down the barrel sort of look. You know what I mean? Try to get it set up that way, and then just hope that it works out, that they come in the direction I'm anticipating. A lot of these farms I've been hunting, I've got a really good handle on which way the activity is going to come from, so I'm pretty fortunate in that way.
So how long you been hunting the same properties?
Probably, I don't know. I've got some properties I've been hunting for 10 years. So that makes it really nice when you're by yourself trying to set up.
Now, do you have all the bucks named?
Some of them, yeah. We do. I get into that a little bit. I'm not big on that. What I like to do is pick one out that's a shooter. I mainly gear towards mature bucks. It doesn't matter how big the rack is, as long as they're mature. Sometimes once in a while you'll get one that's mature and has a big rack, or it might be mature, but like this year I shot one with my muzzleloader that was a mature buck, but didn't have a very big rack. So.
Now, how do you know it's a mature buck? You've seen the buck come down the trail, and all of a sudden you say, "Oh, that's a shooter buck because it's mature." What does that mean to you?
I'm just looks at the body. They got a sway back, big belly. Their neck comes down in their chest. It's not. It comes out like on the brisket line. It's lower on the deer. They just got a bigger. They look like a steer basically. You definitely know when you see one.
Yeah, I can attest to that. But a lot of people don't understand that. And hey, I've shot some big rack bucks that I should have let walk.
Oh yeah.
It's just, all of a sudden you go, oh my goodness, boom, and you go, oh man, I got excited. And I'm guilty of it. I'm trying to get better, folks. I really am. But I get excited. And if I don't get excited when a deer shows up, then I guess I got to go bowl or something.
That's right. If you don't get excited, you need to quit doing it.
I agree.
But yeah, that's what's nice about the cameras nowadays we have available to us. You can know what's there. So when you see a deer, I like to pick out rack characteristics that I can see, from a long distance and know which deer it is. If it's not that deer, then you don't pick your bow up or weapon up. I'm really pretty good at that. I hold true to that. If it's not a specific deer, I don't harvest it. So.
Well, that's a good thing. Let's switch it up. And one of the things you said you're passionate about is getting youth in the outdoors. What does that mean to you?
That's a huge part of my life. I've been fortunate enough myself to shoot several decent bucks, and, now I've got, my oldest daughter's 15, sharing her first hunt. My 14-year-old doesn't really care to hunt, so that's where the camera part comes in with her, so we can still share the outdoors together. And then this year I just filmed my 10-year-old shoot his first turkey and deer this last season. So, it's just watching these kids and, not only my kids, my buddies' kids, my nephews, my nieces, basically anybody's kid. With me, it's just as much, I get just as much excitement out of that as I do shooting the animal myself or the turkey myself. That's nothing better than seeing those kids smile after they've harvested an animal. And, my son learned the hard way this year, youth season, about how hunting works. He actually missed a buck, a really nice buck, and then later on he harvested one, just a small buck, but it was still his first deer. But he learned how that, it's not all about just shooting something every time you go out. So that was tough for him to experience, but he did a good job.
Now, do you belong to youth organizations, or you're hunting, hunting ed instructor or anything along those lines? I
am not involved right now. That's actually something I've been thinking about getting involved in. But at this time, my involvement's just with my children and close friends, family and friends type of stuff, So
let's talk about when you're a sponsor. You mentioned sponsors. Now, how does that work? Do they give you gear? Do you buy the gear? What does really a sponsor mean of Whitetail Stalker?
Some sponsors, do give you gear, and some sponsors sell gear to you at a discounted price. It just depends on how it's set up with them.
So does Mike or Shannon Sitton or Justin find the sponsors, or do they just call you guys?
Yeah, they search them out. Mike searches them out. Shannon and Justin, they'll search them out, and then we go from there and see how it's going to work with the team, and if it's going to be a discounted or a free product, depending on how it works. And then that's where social media comes in, where we have to share. That's part of the deal when you get a sponsor, is sharing them on social media and spreading the word about their products.
Now, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
They can go to Facebook, Marc Olson, or Marc Olson -Whitetail Stalker.
So you're not on Twitter or Instagram, Snapchat, or any of those?
No.
How many followers do you have on social media?
I'm not exactly sure how many I have. I haven't actually looked into that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I know the main page, they've got over 28,000. So you guys are, getting some traction in the social media world. Say in the warm up, you asked me a couple of questions. I said, hey, save those for the show. So we're going to take a little segment here, and Marc Olson from Whitetail Stalker is going to ask Bruce Hutchin, the host of Whitetail Rendezvous, a couple of questions.
Yeah, Bruce, question I had was, how did you get involved in doing this, and what led you to the outdoors?
And folks, Mike Grandstad did an interview. He interviewed me, so a lot of these questions are going to be redundant, but it's fun to talk about it. I started hunting when I was about 10 years old. I had a single shot, pulled the hammer back, 20 gauge, and I shot rabbits and squirrels and rough grouse and mice and rats and stuff like that. And I just love hunting. Nobody in my family, well, that isn't true. I had an Uncle Henry that basically was a subsistence hunter way back in the 50s. They ate what they killed. And having said that, he taught me a lot of stuff, but the biggest guy as a young kid was Otto Knight out of Foster Center, Rhode Island, and he took me hunting, and he took me trout fishing. So he taught me how to fish and how to hunt. And that's the one thing. I love sports and other activities, but I've been a hunter all my life, and just like I said earlier with Nick Albanese, it's the joy of the hunt. That's what I enjoy. I've been blessed to travel from Ungava Bay to Lake Iliamna, and upper and lower Tarlac creeks, and raft all through Alaska. Anyway, I've been able to do that, but it's the joy of the hunt. It's the adventure. Yeah, I like shooting stuff. I like putting critters on the ground, but that's a small part of the whole journey. And if you're hunting for any other reason than hunting for yourself, hunting for food, and hunting for the pure joy of being out there, think about it. If hunting's a job for you folks, I get that. If that's your job, then you got to treat it like any other job. And unfortunately, sometimes you miss the joy because you got to hunt, especially for filming. You might hunt 10 days straight and never see a buck, and you got a deadline, and you got to put something on film, or you wasted 10 days. It's tough. It's really hard. But I got in, Whitetail Rendezvous started March 15th of 2015. We're coming up on 2 years, and I'm excited where we're going. We're just getting started. I'm just getting started with this, and it's going to be a heck of a journey. I'm glad we're tied into Whitetail Stalker on the social media side, and we're going to leverage and grow both our brands.
Yeah, that's going to be great to grow together. So what's your favorite place to hunt?
In the woods.
What's the favorite place you've been in the country to hunt?
I can't answer that because I've seen sunrises on both coasts. In all.
Yeah.
I haven't gone to Africa yet. I'll get there. But I think of when you said that. I think I was laying out in the field with 500 rags, snow geese rags. Sun comes up, and the din of having over 25,000 snow geese over your head. That's a memory. But so is sitting in the tree stand in Buffalo County, and the sun's coming up, and it's just breaking the horizon, and the owls are hooting, or the turkeys are yelping, or whatever they do, and or sitting in a tree stand and being real quiet, real still, and a squirrel scratching for nuts and stuff, and then a goshawk or redtail or pick your type of hawk just swoops down. You can hear him swooping down over your head. You can hear the wind coming off his feathers, and he just rolls that squirrel. And so, those are memories. Here's another memory. I was up, outside of Sundance, Wyoming, and we're hunting mule deer and whitetails. There are a lot of whitetails in Wyoming, and antelope. So I'm sitting in a big cottonwood. All of a sudden, I hear this bird land. I look up, and it's a golden eagle. And he looks at me, and I look at him. We're two hunters. He was looking, for a fawn or a rabbit or whatever, and I was looking for a deer. But hunting is a connection. One, with God. Two, with the environment, and three, hunting gets me in touch with myself.
Yep, I agree. The things we see out in the woods, sitting out there on a perch, wherever it is, like you said, laying on the field on your back looking for geese, or up in a tree stand, or in a box blind. I mean, there's nothing better.
Nope, there isn't. So let's get back. How do you get yourself ready for the hunting season? What do you do specifically with your gear, with your bow? How do you get ready for the hunting season, Mark?
A lot of practice. Practice a lot with my bow, and then let's see, probably August, late July, August, start just thinking about where I'm going to be working on stands, moving stands, getting stands trimmed up, starting to gear up for the season, and then about August 1st, start running trail cameras. By then, here in Iowa, all the bucks are pretty much grown to where at least you know what they're going to be. So we'll start running trail cameras and see what's out there for inventory, see if we got anything to shoot.
Have you ever had a year when no Mr. Wonderful showed up? You didn't get any mature bucks on the trail camera?
Yeah, it happens. We had EHD hit here a couple of years ago, and it was pretty tough. But usually you can find, like I said before, it's not all about the antler size. Usually you can find one that you can get to harvest. But yeah, definitely have years where you don't have anything to look at or to go hunt. But there's always that chance where you got to be out there. You might have something pop in from a couple miles down the road. So my theory is you got to be out there to shoot one. So you can't shoot them from the couch.
What's your strategy for the rut? By that I mean, are you hunting, early October?
Yeah.
And then during the chasing phase, and then the seeking phase, and then the lockdown. Explain a little bit about hunting the rut, and then we'll give a shout out and wrap the show.
Okay. Yeah, for me, this is a part-time job for me. I work full-time, so basically whenever I get a chance, as long as we got good weather and the temperatures aren't really hot, come late October, I start hitting it pretty good. And then, all the way through November, I hit it, no matter what stage of the rut it is, because you never know when that, if it's locked down, you never know when he's going to break off of that doe and get on his feet and go, searching for the next one. So my theory is any chance you get, you need to be in the woods that time of year.
If you could just pick 5 days during the rut, what 5 days would they be?
Oh, man, that's a tough question.
Yeah,
I've tried. I've tried the first week, but honestly, probably the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, right in through there. That's pretty good. But like I said, no matter what, if I have a tag, I'm going to be out there. It doesn't matter what the day is. So,
what's your take on the moon phase?
I don't really follow it a lot. I mean, I definitely know it does affect, their movement and their patterns. But like I said before, it goes back to my theory. My theory is you got to be out there no matter what, because I only have a certain amount of days off with work. So, I got to go regardless of the moon phase. So.
How about hunting the front?
Yeah, definitely hunting the front. I definitely try to hunt the front if I get a chance. Cold snaps. A few years ago, I shot a really nice buck with my muzzleloader, and it was actually a seasonably warm December. I shot him the last week of December, and it was our first cold day we had. When I say unseasonably warm here in Iowa, it was like 30s, above freezing. And that time of year, it's not like that here. And I think that day the high was like 15 degrees, and they were on their feet, and I was able to harvest him a little bit before dark in a food plot.
Now, let's just spend a couple of minutes on food plots. How do you decide where you put your food plots, and how large are they?
Well, basically just kind of I try to do it the way the deer naturally move, through the property, put them where they want to be, if you can. And then, my theory is bigger is better, so as big as you can make it. Like here in Iowa, I mean, we do a lot of bean plots. If you do anything smaller than 2 acres, it's going to be destroyed before a season is even here. So, you have to make them as big as you possibly can.
So do you rotate your crops, or if it's a bean field, then you're going to...
No, we generally plant them the same year after year, so...
Does that work out pretty good for you?
Yeah, yep, so far. We have one that, one of the main farms I hunt, it's a good friend of mine. We have one plot that's been beans for years, and it works out good.
Yeah, I like late season hunting over beans, and I've got pictures of one farm I've hunted in Iowa, and just hundreds. When it starts getting cold, and there's just literally hundreds of deer on these fields, and they're large fields. That is just hundreds and hundreds of deer.
Yeah, that's
amazing.
It's unbelievable to watch those food plots work. When you see, the numbers you can see, it's just awesome. We actually had a spot this year. We had a food plot, and they had planted beans in a pasture, and the deer were actually eating this volunteer grass that was coming up out, and the beans wasn't even going to the food plot, so it really put a wrench in our hunting tactics. So it was kind of interesting to watch the deer move, how they use different food sources. Actually learned a lot from it this year. So.
For people that don't understand volunteer grass, what kind of grass is that?
It's just like ryegrass, like pasture grass, whatever was in the pasture, orchard grass, whatever's in the mix. It had just come up volunteer after they had harvested the beans, and they were hammering it.
Is that late season or?
Yeah, late season. No, it was late season. It was after December because, we had another mild year this year here in Iowa. So after the harvest, everything kind of greened up. And it was pretty interesting to watch because we couldn't figure out what in the world was out there that they were eating, but they liked it. So.
Well, Mark, we're at the time of the show. You get a couple minutes to give shout out, and then we'll wrap the show.
I'd just like to say shout out to the Whitetail Stalker guys, Mike, Shannon, Justin, and the rest of the crew. I really enjoy being a part of that team, being around those guys. It's a lot of fun.
Anybody else?
No, I think that's good.
Okay, how about some of your sponsors?
Some of our sponsors, Outdoor Pro Gear, Element Arrows, Trees and Camo, and of course, Whitetail Rendezvous. So.
Well, Mark, I really appreciate you taking the time this evening and sharing some insights about the things that you love about hunting and, of course, the Whitetail Stalker crew. So on behalf of thousands of listeners across North America, thank you, sir, for being on the show.
Thank you, Bruce. It was fun.
Hey, tune in for the next episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. We're going to hear from Mike Grenstad. Mike and Shelley Grenstad started Whitetail Stalker a few years back, and Mike's going to talk about the evolution of Whitetail Stalker, what it takes to be on his pro staff, and sometimes it just doesn't come together. And that's a recap of his 2016 hunting season. Stay tuned. It's going to be fun.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.